My friends, we're here to talk about Acme Shoemaker. What exactly do billionaires look for in a shoe? Style, fit, comfort, quality craftsmanship and materials? Well, you can get all that for a paltry $400 a pair. So why then are these $1,600? Because, my friends, at these prices we are not satisfied with mere shoes. No, instead, like supercars or luxury real estate, we are purchasing highly functional works of art. Cast off, my friends, everything you know about footwear, for you are about to enter a rabbit hole from which I fear you may never return. Now, let's get right into the shoes. Fuck me. Just as the body of a supercar is the foundation of its aesthetic, so too is the last to the overall visual identity of a shoe. And like any good supercar, you want to see sexy, sharp curves, angles, a cohesive forward motion, and despite being low to the ground, an aesthetic lift and lightness, a hover almost. You've got soft curves flowing around the entirety of the shoe, like the slopes of a ski mountain. It captures your gaze and you are absorbed into the visual geometric flow. An asymmetrical slope down the forefoot, a sharp drop on the toe, a bulbous, seamless heel. There's usually a seam here. This is really hard to do without getting wrinkles because of how the leather needs to be wrapped around the heel, but we'll get to that later. A distinct curve on the waist that disappears underneath the midfoot, and a tight, acute angle at the welt, providing that bevel, that lift. There are dozens of individual moments of angularity and curvature that lead into and out of each other, producing an aesthetic motion and a sculpture that is dynamic and compelling from any angle. The reason such complexity of form can be achieved here is because these shoes are hand-lasted, which is one of three critical processes that distinguish a truly handmade shoe from one that is factory-made. We're going to talk about Triple H later, but the first of those three, hand-lasted, means that the leather is actually stretched over the underside of the shoe and nailed down by hand, as opposed to being simply pressed by a machine. But Chris, that elegant slender toe sure looks tight and uncomfortable. Don't you think? These ain't your grandpa's fucking shoes, boyo! In the realm of luxury dress shoes, these are actually quite unique and represent the next generation, the frontier of classic dress shoe design. So what actually makes their design cutting edge beyond just the last itself? Balls on the table! This is a fair review, and we will talk more about imperfections later, but I'm gonna be honest with you guys, you're about to witness me suck the ever-living cock out of these shoes, and that's because they are that good. Why the hell else would I drive 4 hours to Aspen to show them to you? God, this place sucks. There's not even a JCPenney around here. Good God. Oh. Okay, the leather is fucking incredible. From this tannery, I haven't gotten that information from him yet, so it's right there. It's got even pore structure all throughout, no unsightly creases, wrinkles, or scuffs. Dense enough to hold its structure, but also thin enough to be flexible. It won't have an intense break-in period. And comes with this beautiful hand-done dye work, which we will talk about later. The overall stitching quality and cleanliness is immaculate. All over the upper, the stitching is uniform, clean, and supremely dense with no loose or fraying threads. We'll get to that later. And look how close it is to the edge. This is some Cyril Ling Bane level control we were talking about, people.
Doing absolutely no damage.
The calfskin lining comes in this deep marine blue-green, and I am super into this blue accent stitching. Isn't that cool? I think that's so cool. Anyways, you've got a beautiful curve running down either side of the vamp, complemented by the graduation in width of the laces. It creates this negative space where the rear quarter of the leather forms what to me feels like the abstract shape of an animal. There's lots of motion and animation in this contour that's complemented by the gradation of the patina. It's giving early human cave painting, and I fucking love it. Hi, Editor Chris here. I can't believe I just said that. I actually wrote that in my script, you know. What am I, a 14-year-old girl? Well, emotionally, yes, but I don't want to talk about— Oh my god, the welt! This shit is lit, bro. 12 stitches per inch. That can only be done by hand. That's the third H, by the way. And look at the fudging, these defined ridges. They look like mountains. They're wheeled twice, once by hand to set them in place and guide the sole stitching, and then a second time to impress the thread, making it almost invisible. I mean, the depth and consistency, it just adds this wonderful frame to the upper, much like the frame of a painting. We've heard you say it before, Chris. I know, but it's a really good analogy, okay? That's what it's like up here. Every day. All day. The sole edge and heel stack are sanded perfectly flush, dyed uniform, and even shined to a soft mirror gloss, with a full mirror gloss adorning the toe itself. And side note, talk about art, even just the shoe trees themselves are like works of art. Have you fucking seen these things? Like, look at that. Roll the montage! They're pretty sick, okay? They are fucking awesome. No, I still have to show you this. Oh. Shoe bags! And then the blind stitched waist. Okay, so this is cool. This is when we get into those subtle details that you only find on truly handmade shoes made by some of the top bespoke makers in the entire world. The sole stitch that connects the welt to the outsole actually extends all the way to the heel, but at the waist, it's hidden deeper within the footbed, which allows the sole edge to be cut tight to the upper. Again, something that can only be done by hand and adds to the aesthetic tightness and overall geometric flow of the product. And then similarly, the waist, heel, notch, still waiting on them to tell me what the name of this is, but I'll pop it up right there. Kind of like almost a maker's mark, as it were, of a fully handmade shoe, as opposed to the sole edge seamlessly blending into the heel. Super tight, pitched heel stack not only reduces weight physically, but also visually. It gives that aesthetic lift and forward motion to the shoe, which is complemented further by the wheeling along the top edge. One of the biggest challenges a shoemaker faces is how to make a product that is strong, durable, and comfortable without making a clown shoe brick. And it is in these small details like the pitched heel, like the narrow blind waist, that add up to bring buoyancy and balance to the overall profile. Big shout out to Bridlin, the fucking homies. I needed new boots. I contacted Zahan and I was like, bro, please send me one of your boots. They look good. I love their shit. He sent them to me for free. I said I'll give you a shout out. Bridlin, they're fucking sick. Yeah, something like that. Anyways, moving to the bottom of the product, we see an ecosystem of design that is really equivalent in magnitude and complexity as the top half. I mean, just look at the curvature, the curves of the narrow waist, the curve of the dyework, the slopes of the fiddleback itself, the concave curve of the heel block interior, the convex curve of the heel exterior rear. An understated top lift turns what is normally an invasive but necessary chunk of rubber into more of an aesthetic accent, which is further enhanced by the decorative wheeling. The sole itself is finished with a natural semi-glossed and a closed channel stitch, which conceals and protects the sole stitch, one of two primary stitches that hold the entire shoe together. Of course, there are other finish options you can get, like all black. I personally like all black, but thought this option would be a good test of their craftsmanship when it comes to dye work. And good God, is it sharp right along the edge of that curve there, complemented by more decorative wheeling. Decorative wheeling, decorative wheeling. It's fucking incredible. I'm sorry, I swear to God. I know it sounds like an ad. I swear to God, guys, this is how I actually feel. Shit, look at the reflection of the ice pick in this B-roll. I didn't even mean to get this shot. Again, I'm not even looking at this as a shoe. It's just a beautiful, well-executed sculptural object. I mean, this could be made out of ceramic and we would be having a similar discussion. I think an important distinction between standard and bespoke grade is that the underside of the shoe is not merely an afterthought, but receives just as much design and attention as the top half, making it a true three-dimensional work of art. Acme stands out for many reasons, but most primarily I would say is their patina, which is the hand-done dye work that gives the shoe a unique dynamic color. What I'm about to show you truly represents a league of its own that no other shoemaker that I know of even comes close to. The patina on this shoe is complex and dynamic, but subtle, and that's why I chose it. I thought it would be a little more approachable. For more sophisticated examples, I strongly suggest checking out Acme's Instagram page because good lord. As someone with a background in fine art and ceramics, I find it genuinely fascinating how Acme draws inspiration from various facets of art and culture to create the shapes, colors, and textures they do for their shoes. It's easy to say luxury dress shoes are art just because of what they are and how they're made, but this is a company that is seriously pushing that boundary and blurring the line between what it means for a product to be functional and beautiful, to be a work and a work of art. Now at this point, if you're still thinking, I don't get it, why are these special, why does anyone care this much about shoes, and why would anyone pay this much for them? Watch this video. Trust me, just watch it. Also, watch this. Shit. What makes a luxury home luxurious is not merely the fine finishes you see on the surface. It is also the precision and detail used in every facet of its construction. In fact, true craftsmanship is rarely defined by what you notice, but instead, every little detail that you don't. This shoe sure looks beautiful on the outside, but how does it look on the inside, and what does that mean for its longevity as a functional product? After all, these shoes are art, but they are still shoes. Under the hood of a shoe, guys, we are really looking for three things. Number one, material quality. Number two, tightness of construction. Number three, handmade, Triple H. What's Triple H? I'll explain in a minute. We've got a list here. There's an order. Can you please fucking calm down? I'm going to get to it, okay? I know you're excited. I'm excited too. Do not come. Full grain leather is the name of the game here, guys. We want as much of it as possible. It's stronger, longer lasting, more comfortable, and more scarce than lower grade materials like leatherboard or plastic. Every layer of the heel stack, the heel counter, the toe stiffener, the welt, the insole, the outsole, even the non-visible sculpted mid layer that forms the fiddleback, all are full grain leather. And look at the thickness of this insole and outsole, baby! That's gonna give you a great pad for comfort and a long lasting shoe. And even the top lift, which normally extends all the way through the second layer of the shoe, is cut off halfway to make room for another segment of full grain leather, which allows for this beautiful shot of an all leather heel block interior. You've got a steel shank for structure and a foam heel pad for a little extra shock absorption. And what's cool about this cross section is you can actually see the upper and lining leather that's been wrapped underneath, and these little dots are the threads stitching it to the insole. As far as tightness of construction, you want to see no gaps in the footbed or loose layers of material, because as they rub together, that friction will cause them to gradually delaminate or erode. They're perfect, right? There's literally not a single gap anywhere in the entire footbed, which is actually the first time we've even seen that on the channel. But even beyond that, notice this cork layer is not only very dense, which means it won't crumble or displace over time, but it's also extremely thin. The cork's purpose is to fill an inevitable void that is created in the footbed, and the narrowness of that void here is a direct result of the more precise and skilled work of a handmade shoe. This is actually what allows them to use such a thick insole and outsole without creating a chunky footbed. And then these shoes are fully handmade. Do not be misled by cheaper shoe companies that call their shoes fully handmade just because humans are involved in the process. While not a government-regulated term, in the shoe industry, handmade refers to three very specific facets of construction. Hand-lasted, which we've talked about, hand-welted, which means the welt stitch that connects the upper to the insole is done by hand, and hand-stitched, which means the sole stitch that connects the welt to the outsole is also done by hand. The value of being handmade comes from, number one, the scarcity. Only a few people in the world ever even get to a point where they can effectively do this by hand, and it takes a lot of time. And number two, a skilled hand will be able to achieve a greater level of precision and detail than any machine. This translates to higher stitch densities, unique features like the blind waist and seamless heel, and this supremely tight construction. And as you all know, my pasty white bitch self ain't letting anybody get praise from me without at least a little bit of negativity. I've been creatively bankrupt lately because I keep thinking about this girl. I can't think about the video, so we're just gonna reuse the bit from the Brilliant video, okay? That's right, roll Gusty Garden, baby! On the left shoe, there's a dent on the sole edge bottom on the corner of the exterior. There's missing imprint at the convergence of the fiddleback wheeling. There's scuffs on the fiddle exterior. There's rough edge on the fiddle interior, the tie stain smear on the sole bottom, scuffs inside the heel. On the right shoe, there's a tuft on the heel, welt edge exterior. Who the fuck came up and wrote these notes? Oh yeah, the thing came off. I tried to scrape it, but I feel like it took too long for me to scrape it off. I still wanted to include it. I don't know what the fuck. I think we're just gonna move on, okay? There's scuffs on the heel stack, lower side exterior. There's a tuft on there's a tuft on the heel stack, top layer interior messy where the fudging ends on the interior. There's scuffs on the fiddle interior. There's a sole edge scuff interior toe. Who the fuck wrote these notes? I did! There's a leather wrinkle on the fiddle interior. There's faded heel bottom finish. What does that mean? Oh yeah, the finish on the heel bottom on the top lift. It's like kind of, the dye's like kind of faded there. On both shoes, there's a tape line on the fiddleback. It's just kind of like, I don't know. There's a sole edge scuff on the interior of the toe. The sole bottom edge dye work faded. Okay, the line on the edge of the sole is faded. It's actually supposed to be that way, but they meant to. I just disagree with it. I know I'm taking the birth. I'm just including it here anyways. I haven't read all the script. I don't want to drive 3 hours out here again, okay? There's scuffing on the top lift rubber rear, and then scuffing on the fiddle interior. All of these defects are valid, though only insofar as you're going to buy these shoes and put them in a trophy case as you might a fine sculpture, which frankly would not be unreasonable and is what I personally would do, especially with some of the more elaborate patinas. If you plan on using these shoes as shoes, all of this will be negligible after the first time you wear them. However, there are some defects that run a little more substantial. Starting with the left shoe, there is a divot in the leather on the interior rear quarter. That kind of sucks. There are scuffs on the underside of the waist on the exterior, and then also on the exterior where the vamp stitch ends, just sort of loses its quality a little bit. On the right shoe, the stay stitch is just slightly off kilter. There are 2 dots that look like a stain on the interior of the waist, and then on the exterior, the decorative stitch does not meet the top line, which it does on the other side of the same shoe and on both sides of the other shoe. On both shoes, there is the broguing for the toe cap is cut off halfway as opposed to being completed before it meets the sole edge. The tongue is unfinished on its edge, which at first to me struck me as an imperfection, but now that I kind of like think more about it, I almost like it as like a hint of the natural in what is otherwise a highly processed product. So I'm kind of 50-50 about it. I'm curious what you guys think. And then the heel wheeling fades on that last imprint just isn't quite right on the exterior of the heel blocks, and then also on the vertical edge of the exterior there is a chip. And then just a few critiques. The waist notch on both shoes is just kind of messy. It could have been more cleanly, more sharply done. There is a steel shank. At this price, you could really start to expect wood, which in theory will be more comfortable, more flexible over time. I personally have not been able to ever tell the difference, you know, so I think it's something you have to wear dress shoes like every day, all day for a very long time to suss out the difference. And then there's no suede heel counter, so typically well below this price you would see a suede backing on the interior of the heel that helps just kind of grip your heel, hold it in place. I don't know that there would be like a design philosophy about it, but if there is, you know, maybe that's something. I don't, you know, I'm not an expert on this stuff. So are they still worth it? Well, like the purpose of the review is to give you detailed information about the product and to get you rock hard, but whether or not they're worth it to you is really your decision to make, not mine. And of course, to make that decision, it's good to know what else is on the market. And to be honest, guys, at this price, as you might expect, there's not a whole lot. Starting with Europe, you have Graziano and Girling out of England. These are probably among the more contemporary styled English shoe companies out there. They have a more elongated last, very similar feature to Acme. However, their main line, which is comparable in price at $1,700, is Goodyear welted. So these are factory made, they are not handmade in any of the 3 facets. You can, however, get Triple H fully handmade shoes from Graziano and Girling through their Optimum line, and they cost only about $5,000?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, get the fuck out of here, bro. $5,000? And they make you pay shipping! You have to pay $75 in shipping! Get the fuck out of here, bro. Oh my god. You can get a fully bespoke shoe from the best maker in Japan and pay for 2 flights out there to get the shoes fit and get mochi and still save money. Oh, that is like you pay for shipping. That's like Alan Edmonds level insulting, bro. Oh my god. What, are you gonna put a loot box in it too? Oh, Jesus God. Yeesh. What, are the laces gonna be post-launch DLC? God. What are you doing? Why are you making people pay for shipping for the $5,000 shoes? Come on, are you serious? Overpriced. Needless to say. And you might be thinking, oh, well, that's because labor's more expensive in England than it is in China.
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
A bit better, we've got Norman Vilalta out of Spain, Barcelona. Nice designs, patinas, very contemporary shoes. These are fully handmade. $2,500, you know, they're definitely more expensive. Everything's a little more expensive in Europe, but not, you know, ultimately a terrible deal if you really find something you like there. Stefano Bemmer, their Tradizione line for $2,200. More reserved designs, but still have kind of some flair, which I guess is like a good description of Italian style in general. Edward Green, well made, but boring. I take that back. Actually, I think Edward Green, insofar as we're talking about more classic conservative English lasts, has the best, actually, English lasts. I mean, look at those loafers. Aren't those cool? John Law, bought by Hermes and has kind of become the same overpriced, cheap shit that you'd expect from a standard fake luxury company. Their sneakers are sick though. They're overpriced, but those designs, oh my god, I'm in love. But we have 150 years of heritage.
Not interested, sir. Anyways, here's how to tell if your sign is cheap.
There's a smattering of other English companies, and I know I'm gonna break some hearts here, but guys, to me, they are all either boring, overpriced, or both.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
St. Crispin's out of Romania. Okay, this is probably the best comparison out of Europe. $1,500 with a 6-week delivery. I think these shoes are probably the closest in terms of like forward-thinking design, where they really strike that balance of contemporary and classic. And free shipping over 1,000 euros. That's right, baby. Aya! Romania. All right, that's enough of that. Excuse me. I'm a working professional, you know. We probably already know those companies, and mindlessly praising legacy brands riding on the coattails of their reputation is not why you watch this channel. No, you watch it because you want the good shit. Because I, in my infinite autism, work hard and am damn proud to do so to find you the good shit. And the good shit, my friends, is in Asia. Acme Shoemaker, literally the first company I covered on this channel before I even knew any of these people. These guys are awesome. They have a new line, an upgraded line called the Artisanal line. $900. They have a variety of options, leathers. You can do beveled sole, fiddleback sole. These are super well made. They are fully handmade shoes. These and the next couple companies are actually really good options for someone who wants like 90% of what Acme is for a lot less than 90% of the price. What is it? 900, 1600. You divide it, 16, 10, 16 times 5, 50, 35, 50%. No, not 50%. It's a little over 50%. Look, again, as you go up in price, guys, you get diminishing returns in terms of features. You're really paying for the scarcity of that minute level of masterful creation. Similarly, Ichigo, this is a Japanese company, around $1,000 for the made-to-order 3 to 4 month delivery. They have bespoke grade features. Their shoes are a little out there. They're like kind of really pushing into some interesting design territory that, like, to me personally might be a little bit much, but some of you might like it. I mainly want to put this guy here because he's sort of a rising star. He's a little bit newer on the scene, and he's really promising, and I feel really confident that, like, in 3 years, you're gonna watch this video, and he's gonna still be, like, a great option on the market. Octenth, another Chinese brand, for about $776. Kind of a stretch at almost half the price, but there's just not a whole lot of options out there, so I'm trying to give you guys something. And also a brand that is good and will probably get better with time. And then Yohai Fukuda, kind of a mandatory mention, especially because they have a ready-to-wear line. Like, that's kind of a big thing, is being able to quickly order something. These are hand-welted, hand-lasted, and machine sole-stitched. They're like $2,200. He's got a reputation, so his prices are probably a little higher than normal, but nothing that I wouldn't still consider a very fair value. Now, there are a handful of other custom options in Japan. They're good. They're all going to be over $2,000 though, and it's going to take a little more work to like communicate, to order them and figure out what you want. It's not just like a simple click and buy customized process. And I think this is where Acme shines, because there's really no other shoemaker that I know of offering what I would consider a truly bespoke grade shoe, this accessible to order for this low of a price. Look, I had to get off my chest, okay? I also got to get the fuck out of here. Oh my god. Ugh. How's she look? Does she look good? Give me I want Mike Israel's feedback on what we got cooking back here. Someone get me a Will Tennyson collab. I'm not here to convince you guys to buy anything. I'm just here to give you the information so you can make a better informed decision for yourself. If you are, however, interested in purchasing a pair of these shoes, here are some tips that are gonna help you out. Arterton is the place. They are a true luxury retailer based in London. They're the real deal. The OGs of this channel will know that I mean that, because they're actually the first review on this channel was a product that I bought with my money from them. You can customize and order ready to wear easily on the website, but Arterton also handles all custom orders. If you want a custom patina or embossing, something you've seen before, something new, just email them. At this level, guys, you're working with a small workshop of master level craftsmen. They can realize pretty much any vision you have. And if you are doing a custom order, please do include my name in the email, because that is the only way we can really track those for affiliate sales, because it's not just a simple affiliate link click and buy process. Actually, I changed my mind. I am here to convince you to buy this Nikata and Yuhaku stuff. Is this not the sickest shit you've ever seen? Come on, are you serious? Like, just look, you don't even need a suit. You can use it for a jacket or something. Is this not cool? Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Why are you booing me? I'm right! Even if you aren't doing a custom order, email them anyways. Ask them for sizing guidance, even if you're confident. The people at Arterton know their stuff, okay? These aren't like Nordstrom college kids. They're well-trained, focused, and they want to help you. This is not customer service. This is client service. We do not get this in the United States. Take advantage of it. It is part of what you are paying for. And if you like the video or any of my work, thank them. Write them an email. Just say thanks. I don't get anything from that, but they've been a big supporter of my work. William, who runs a joint, is an absolute fucking Chad, okay? I actually almost quit this whole thing last year, and it was his words of encouragement that talked me back onto the cliff that I had already jumped off of. He's always been supportive of my work, very tolerant of my idiocy. You know, he's British, but I mean, I can forgive him for that. I'll be the bigger man. You know, we don't have to talk about the tax thing. We don't have to talk about the tax thing. William, I love you, bro. Thank you. And thank me, too. I mean, I am the host of the video, right? I've been working out. Can you tell?